Trump administration is doing is intentionally fomenting chaos. You're absolutely right. They're being caught up in Trump's war on Chicago.
Morning.
Good morning.
So getting back to federalized military intervention in the Chicago area, and given the reporting and the underreporting of the incidents of riotous behavior at the Broadview ICE Center and the ICE raid of South Shore apartment complex overrun by Trinidad Aragua activity, your foundational black constituents want to know how setting them up as collateral damage with the federal authorities furthers in a struggle for fugitive illegal immigrants, furthers your ideal of non-divisive black and brown coalition.
Donald Trump declared war on Chicago. That's what he did. What the Trump administration is doing is intentionally fomenting chaos. They're doing that on purpose because this president doesn't respect the rule of law, and he certainly doesn't respect working people. Now look, Black Hawk helicopters landing on top of apartment buildings, that's a choice and a decision that the President of the United States of America made. Those are his actions. The federal government sending in ICE, which, by the way, has a budget that only compares to the United States military and China's military.
But blacks are getting caught up in that.
That's a decision. Well, you're absolutely right. They're being caught up in Trump's war on Chicago. That's what this is about. It's about Donald Trump and his lack of regard for working people, and particularly black and brown people. And so what am I doing? I'm using every single tool that's available to me to make sure that we protect people, all of Chicago. Donald Trump also said that the money that we're spending for black student success, he doesn't want that. He also said, let's not deliver on the resources for the Red Line extension, which has been a fight for black Southsiders for decades. And we got it done. And he's holding that up. That's what the President of the United States of America is doing, because he clearly has animus towards working people, and particularly black and brown folks. And so I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we continue to invest in these very communities and that we push back against the militarized occupation of not just our city, but cities across America.
A video was circulating this weekend of ICE attempting to detain a person and failing after community members were protesting. They were pulling on the man's arms to try to keep him from being pulled into what appeared to be an unmarked SUV, and they succeeded. ICE drove away. It seems people who are concerned their family members are being, quote, abducted by ICE are more and more taking matters into their own hands. And I'm just wondering, how do you recommend residents act in moments like that where masked agents are attempting to detain a neighbor or a family member? What words of advice do you have for residents in those moments?
Well, first of all, I'm going to ask that people remain calm and, making sure that that we're not provocating any acts of violence. And I understand the turmoil and the level of anxiety that families are experiencing. Now, this is why I'm doing my part to make sure that every single tool that's available to me, we can maximize the protection of all Chicagoans. But my advice, of course, is to make sure that, families are upholding the principles and the values of engaging with civility, while also, recognizing that what the Trump administration is doing to escalate violence in our city and cities across America is just absolutely reprehensible. The fact that he has declared war on the city of Chicago is disconcerting, to say the least. And so I'm asking folks to operate in the long tradition of nonviolence, while also organizing the community to resist and find ways in which we can continue to come together to push back against this tyranny.
So, You've had several press conferences with Governor Pritzker. Presumably, you all have had some time to talk. I'm wondering if you personally lobbied him for your Springfield veto session agenda, and how this budget season rollout's going to go. Are you going to start by identifying savings and efficiencies? Do you want to just leave this blank since the alders are working on kind of their own budget? What's about to happen?
Well, I have a responsibility as the executive of this city to present a budget. I'm going to do that. It's going to be balanced. And what I've said, and I'm committed to doing, I'm going to keep to my word, is that I'm going to present a budget that challenges the ultra-rich to pay their fair share in taxes. I'm going to challenge that. Our corporations, particularly those who have received tax cuts from the president, have to put more skin in the game. Look, the president's cuts are real. He's cutting our public education system. He's cutting off our public transportation investments. He's literally withholding over almost $2 billion for the south side of Chicago. We fought 50 years to get that done. We got it done in my time as mayor. And now he's withholding those dollars. Every single area where descendants of slaves have fought for accommodations by the government, that's what he's attacking. Education, cuts to education, cuts to transportation, cuts to health care, cuts to jobs. I mean, literally every area. And so my budget will have to address the very cuts that are coming from the federal government. And that's why, I have worked collaboratively with multiple industries and entities, whether it's the business community, which by the way, the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, they're recognizing the economic comeback of Chicago and how Trump's cuts are hurting that. And so that's why this budget that I'm going to put forth is going to have some considerations from every person who has contributed to this work, that we will have to find some ways in which we can make government more productive. There are some duplicate of services that are happening that we can better streamline. And yes, by the way, have I had conversations with the governor around progressive revenue? Of course I have. I met with the Speaker of the House, the Senate President. They know that we're going to have to do something to stand up to Trump's cuts. They know we're going to have to do something. I've been calling for progressive revenue long before I've been mayor of the city of Chicago. It's time for Democrats to stand up against the cuts that Trump has proposed. And it's going to require all of us to roll up our sleeves to ensure that we're protecting working people.
I guess, Mayor, we're all just waiting for you to be specific about what is progressive revenue.
I mean, Tamar, you know what progressive revenue is. Listen, the governor spent his own money for progressive income tax. Everybody knows, of which 84% of black
don't
folks.
Have that. We have a graduated income tax. There's
So
no way
but
to
your question was,
progressive
Tamar,
revenue.
respectfully, your question was, what are the specifics? We know the specifics around progressive revenue. There's no secret here. And all I'm simply saying, you heard the Speaker of the House. What did the Speaker of the House say? He said we should have a millionaire's tax. He said it. The state of Illinois fought for a progressive income tax. I know they're looking at a digital ad tax. There's no secret around here of where the money is hyper concentrated. And as Democrats, we're either going to fold to Trump's cuts or we are going to roll him over. And I am saying that as working people, we have to roll over this Trump administration and ensure that we have the revenue to continue to hire people, to continue to educate our children, to continue to make sure that we have good paying jobs, to continue to make sure that we're protecting people's retirement, to make sure that our transportation system is running. Now look, next week I'm going to give my proposal, and the city council will be able to debate it. And we need the state of Illinois to work with us, labor, the business community, to ensure that we're driving the revenue that's necessary to continue to grow our economy and keep our people safe.
Mayor, those things you're describing are at best a year off, maybe more. A progressive income tax, right? It has to change the Constitution, state sales tax, or extending the sales tax of services. It has to be approved, and then it would take a while to implement and bring in. Is there anything in this veto session that you want the state to do to help the city's budget?
We have to address transportation, I believe, in the veto session. Now, there are some people believe that, it still could be tough. I've had conversations with elected leaders. I've made my expectations clear that we have to secure the revenue that's needed to make sure that our transportation system can continue to grow. We had an 11% increase in ridership. 300 million people riding our trains and our buses. The economic prowess of our local transportation system impacts the entire region. So this is not just simply about the revenue to protect our public transportation system. This is about revenue that allows for our economy to grow. And the way our economy grows is that you have to be able to move around. And so we're going to continue to have those conversations. And look, if something requires more time, in order to get it done and to get it right, that just might be par for the course. But one thing that I know for sure, you don't get weary in your well-doing, right? And so this is why these conversations that we're having today, conversations that I provoked 2 years ago, quite frankly, conversations that people have been on the ground fighting for years. It's like what Springfield knows, they didn't discover that because I became mayor. Now, are we pushing and challenging them more because I am mayor? Absolutely. They have to do more. They know that. And the hope is that because we know we have to do better to stave off Trump's cuts, that as Democrats, we can show up in a very proud way to make sure that we're protecting working people.